Mentioned before, she had done growth and revitalization. She wears the second hat, and she also does, for some years now already, national disaster relief. And so, Judy, it's up to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Roloff. I'll try to keep this as short as possible.
Left hand top. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Well, my involvement with a disaster started in 2017. I became diocesan council president in Sacramento on October 1st, 2017. And 8 days later, the Tubbs fire in Santa Rosa broke out. And for some reason, I got in contact with the Santa Rosa District Council. Ron Plass is on this call. I remember talking with him and getting in touch with his executive director, Jack Tibbetts, and we got some contact with Disaster Services, which is the National St. Vincent de Paul Society's arm of disaster relief. And I just started getting involved at that point. In July of 2018, the car fire in Reading broke out, and that was in my diocesan council, and got help from disaster services, got training, got rapid response grants. That's what they do. They help conferences and councils when they are in the midst of a disaster. This kind of prepared me for November of 2018 when the Camp Fire in Paradise broke out, which is still the second largest fire in California's history. From there, I learned everything about disaster, what happens during, what happens immediately after the disaster services people come out and help you at a disaster resource center. And after that comes long-term disaster relief called disaster case management. And I wanted to show you this very short video that's the Sacramento Diocesan Council made to show everyone what disaster case managers do and how they help people whose lives were destroyed and how they get them back to some kind of normalcy. The thing you need to understand is that it is years before this happens, and we are just wrapping up the campfire work that we're doing this month. It's been 4 years, and many people have been helped, and this will show you how.
Disaster case managers, it's really their job to get people through the recovery process, to get them as close to pre-fire conditions as is possible in terms of living conditions. So they're always trying to work towards a goal of sustainable housing for people.
So in the recovery process, we help the survivors come up with a realistic goal for recovery. They're short and long-term goals. And what we do is we have access to grant information and resources. And oftentimes part of the recovery process, they are so traumatized that they don't know where to turn and what to do and the steps to do it.
There's nowhere to turn. There's nowhere. And there's nobody to turn to unless you have case managers. And then you have help. And they're a lot of help.
Our main purpose as disaster case managers is not to fund financially or have someone rely on us. It's to help them get to safe, sanitary, and secure housing, not temporary housing.
A lot of times what I'm trying to do is just find out like what are your barriers to getting back into housing, and then trying to do the things to address those barriers. So that can be different for every person. Sometimes it's connecting them to employment resources, or even just getting them connected to a lot of like the programs like for CalFresh, or some of the housing programs, so that they can get to a place where they can get into housing.
They've been understanding in what I'm actually going through, instead of just kind of, I'm not a robot. I am trying and doing everything I can to find my own place.
A lot of times we're finding people that are alone. They don't have family members. They've just lost absolutely everything. Their entire life has been ripped out from underneath them. And we are that outreach. We are the people that are there on the ground. They're homeless. A lot of them, whether they're a homeowner or a renter, there's a lot of obstacles to being housed and being rehoused. One of our primary goals as disaster case managers is to support and advocate on behalf of the survivor, always fighting for our survivors.
They're like my lawyer, you know? And I'm very grateful because if it wasn't for St. Paul, I think I wouldn't have a home today.
It's nice to have a home. You know, after having my own place and then losing it, and then this is the 12th place I've been in since the fire. And the last place. Very grateful. They changed everything from, you know, of a feeling of being lost in despair and what am I going to do, to now I'm here. I have my own house and, you know, I have a future and a future to plan and all that. So dramatically changed everything. And I couldn't be more grateful, believe me.
So there was nowhere to live. They were going to find a place for me, and they did. They surely did. I'm shocked. I can't believe I have a place to live.
So if you're wondering, a program like that is funded by FEMA. And once our FEMA grant ended, our Bishop Soto in the Diocese of Sacramento, very supportive of St. Vincent de Paul and certainly of disaster, enabled us to fund that for one more year. We are now doing disaster case management for the Bear Fire and the Dixie Fire, and we pray that this year will not bring more fires, but I know that in Southern California today, there was a fire. I'm not going to go through too many of these. I know you're going to get this presentation, but know that St. Vincent de Paul is one of the earliest charities in the United States to assist in disaster relief, and it goes all the way back to the Civil War. There are many programs that Nationals DSC provides for councils and conferences, mostly grants, training, and our famous and well-known House in the Box program. I've put here the websites that when you get this presentation, go on your state website, find a VOAD, a voluntary organization active in disaster, and find out what the local one, where the local ones are, and get involved. They'll help you prepare for any disaster that may come along the way. You need to know who to contact and who your partners are. And basically, we're in our region, earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, and wildfires are all common. So at some point you may be involved in a disaster. Prepare. That's the bottom line. Prepare for these disasters. Have an evacuation plan. Don't forget your medication. Remember your pets. All of these things are important. Sign up for emergency alerts so you'll know what to do and where to go. But if your conference is involved and you need help, I'm the first person you should call. Email, text. I will help you get the help you need from disaster services. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. And this is so applicable to the western part of this country. Not that the East doesn't have these type of problems, but we all know about the wildfires. We all know about the possibilities of earthquakes. We know about all these things. And the real question is, do we prepare for them? Do we know what to do when it strikes us, when it really happens? So I would really recommend you get a hold of Judy or any of the numbers that she's shown on those charts when you get them, and make sure that your conferences and your councils have a preparedness, awareness, and a plan, so that if there is an earthquake in San Francisco, I have got children, never, but you know that that they will definitely have a plan in place, and you don't have to start trying to find out and Google it, because the Google won't be working at the time. So do the work up front and make sure that you are aware of what you need to do when there is a fire or an earthquake.